The biggest challenge is being the first. It's always being the first when using new tech. And I feel very fortunate, very lucky to have this opportunity to be the first director using the Akira platform and the Akira stage. So that's been amazing.
My background started in motion capture with this in DP about 4 or 5 years ago, and to see how much tracking technology has evolved and has changed has been an incredible experience.
Definitely as well on the helicopter scene, the Ocellus technology comes really handy because the camera had to get really close to the actor, almost going into the helicopter. If we're using traditional optical tracking system, that is impossible.
We can go in there and install very easily, and it's not like before where we have to go in and sticker an environment and have 3,000 retro-reflective stickers, or I have to go in there and physically mount motion capture cameras. And then as practical sets lands, it's very challenging to go in there and constantly be changing things out and be moving the volume and rearranging and stuff. So something like Ocellus hits a direct need. It allows us for especially things like on a crane operator where we have the ability to have a tethered tracking system and have that attached to the loom and get that data back at a price point that's very good.
One of my favorite features with the Venice 2, which is the Rialto component. A lot of the sequences that we're trying to film here happen on smaller enclosed spaces like the SUV chase. We're doing a lot of stuff in the inside of the vehicle. We want to have a lot of the characters' point of views. We don't want to draw too much attention to the background. Really what you want to do is you want to be in it with the characters, and you want to feel the realism of being in that space. And the Rialto helps us get into those really tight, intimate, claustrophobic environments without sacrificing the quality of how we're shooting.
The biggest way that Crystal LED helps us in virtual production is by giving us color depth. So contrast is a challenge when you're working with LED walls. If you have lighting fixtures, they tend to wash out the wall, you get less contrast. If you have a lot of atmo going, smoke, dust, snow, all of that reduces your ability to get contrast and get clearer and more vivid colors from the wall, therefore reducing our ability to portray reality. By having greater color depth, truer blacks, and fantastic coating where we get less glare on the LED walls, we have much more creative freedom in terms of coloring and adding or removing contrast on the environments without worrying about not getting realistic and accurate colors on the camera feed.
I think our previous tools and pre-visualization plays a huge importance in the production and also how smooth everything is going to run. Having an understanding of before we even step into the volume, being able to give these tools, work through them with the DP, work through them with the director, be able to utilize lensing sessions and have everybody an understanding of what we're trying to do and what we're trying to achieve in here leads to a successful production. The more that we can give them as far as lensing opportunities, moire detections, abilities for them to visualize before they step on set is imperative. Being able to utilize these tools as early as possible allows us to be able to be ready for it and make sure all of our tool sets, everything is functioning as expected.
Akira is very versatile, and I really like that the wheel rollers are not built onto the rig, so we can take those off and adjust them for different size wheelbases, or say a motorcycle, we can just only put 2 of the tire rollers into the middle and have a motorcycle on there instead of a car, or we can take them off completely and we can put a helicopter which doesn't need those tire rollers. So it's very versatile.
Having the ability to have Sony with us next to us on set and see how we're utilizing their tool sets, getting the feedback firsthand from what we're receiving, and being able to give recommendations and guidance based on what we're seeing from DPs, directors, the typical asks that happen every day in production, and then being able to develop it and then incorporate it and be able to use it, I think is very beneficial because it creates a very healthy ecosystem. It becomes development, it becomes technology, and it becomes pushing that boundary.
Good afternoon, everyone, and good morning to the folks on the West Coast. Welcome to another edition of Tech Tuesday titled Behind the Scenes, Sony's Innovations in Virtual Production. I'm Joe Diacetis, and we're excited to have you join us today. Today, you will hear from Sony's virtual production experts as they take a deep dive into how Sony is elevating virtual production. You'll also hear from one of our end users, Texas A&M University, and learn how they are utilizing Sony's virtual production technology. Now I'm going to hand it off to Jamie Raffone, Senior Sales Manager of Virtual Production, who will be walking you through today's agenda. I'll see you back at the close of the session. Over to you, Jamie.
Thanks, Joe. Kicking off our second Tech Tuesday focused on Sony's virtual production ecosystem, you'll see here we have a full agenda with experts for this session, covering three major areas: the evolution of Sony's virtual production solutions, one of our leading partners and case studies with the Virtual Production Institute at Texas A&M, and last, the newest member of our virtual production purpose-built crystal LED, Capri. We'll make sure to leave time for Q&A and share plenty of resources, contacts, and how to find out more along the way. Now, diving into our virtual production journey, I'd like to introduce Business Manager for Crystal LED, Jason Metcalf.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We appreciate the time. We're always happy to talk about the solutions we're bringing to virtual production and advanced production spaces. Before we jump in, I wanted to show a slide of the number of partners that we have in this space. And these, for us, are not just integration partners, although we have done integration work with them, but they're truly industry partners. We hear their feedback. We discuss trends and future outlook in this space. And that's how we maintain great visibility into the needs of the market, how these techniques are being used and how they're evolving. And so with each of them, we really have an iterative process. So they're key to our process and product development workflow. We've worked with each to bring a number of different initiatives to the space, including production tests, camera testing, but also education initiatives. The space is still very, very new. These techniques are new and evolving rapidly. So everyone from the most veteran cinematographer or art director to students, they need training. They need to stay up on the latest trends in this area. So we partnered with folks like Epic Games, Pixmondo, the Art Directors Guild, to do training on different techniques in Unreal Engine, like twin motion, training on virtual production as a process itself. And so this ecosystem of collaborators, partners, is part of our offering as well. It's not just products, but also the knowledge, education initiatives to support virtual production as a whole. We are also similarly within Sony, across our group companies, performing these initiatives ourselves, because we're not only offering product solutions to customers outside market, but we're using them internally to create content for groups like Sony Pictures, Sony Music, and across the group companies collaborating as well. So just all this is to say, virtual production for us is a conversation. It's an iterative process, it's an ongoing process. We still feel like it's a very nascent technology. And all of this work is not just to benefit us, but to benefit all users of every different scale that want to adopt these techniques themselves. Within Sony Electronics, we have offerings across multiple groups of products, multiple categories of products that have been the offerings that we've had for many years now. Cinema cameras, reference monitors, direct view LED displays. But it's within our virtual production group that we're bringing these products together. We're creating links between them. We're collaborating on, again, the planning process, the development process, to see where there are gaps and where we can provide a better solution. So, for instance, in the pre-production process, we have a new solution that we showed this year, our spatial capture solution. It's a rapid asset creation tool to develop photorealistic environments. And it's something that an organization of almost any size can adopt. They can use relatively low-cost hardware, small teams to go out, map areas, create environments very, very rapidly, and then immediately use them on set. Additionally, during production, once you get on set, we have also introduced this year our Acellus camera tracking system, the goal of which being to simplify and directly integrate camera tracking into a Sony cinema camera. So we're trying to make the process easier to adopt, simplify as much as we can, and then of course help these products work better together. And that's really where our virtual production toolset comes in. So we have a suite of software tools that work in every phase of the production process, from pre-production onto set and then into post, to help with things like camera blocking, look development. So you can create a look for the camera in pre-production and then export that directly onto set and kind of eliminate that time that you would sometimes use developing that look on a very expensive soundstage or, with a very expensive crew, obviously. We have a color calibration process, which makes sure that the work you do in pre-production gets transferred onto set. And then the display that you're using is calibrated for the Sony camera that you choose. Because each one has a slightly different look, slightly different behavior in the imager, and it's a very rapid process. You film a test pattern on the display, and it creates a LUT that you can use to calibrate your work. So what we're trying to do, what we're continuing to do, is add to these tools. We've announced more. We'll be releasing a new version of our virtual production tool set in the coming months, and we're looking to see where there's gaps, where we can add and help bring efficiencies to the process. What we really want to communicate is that we want to bring these products to users, to cinematographers, content creators of every shape and size. But we also we've, I think, done a really good job of creating a pretty open ecosystem. So we know that every space doesn't need the exact same tools. So they can be custom suited, custom configured for the correct space, the correct application. But even beyond that, we know that cinematographers, camera operators, they may have preferences outside of the Sony ecosystem for the products they use. So we want to make sure that our LED walls perform great with not only Sony cameras, but those of other manufacturers as well. Or likewise, Sony camera works really well with other LED displays, a variety of different products that are out there. So we're trying to create a really interoperable, open ecosystem, and like we're trying to show, one that can suit almost any application of any size or for any industry. We have come a long way. Our group has been around for about 4 or 5 years now, doing different levels of production. We had launched Verona, the Crystal LED Verona, about 18 months ago. And since then, we have been on a kind of a marathon of events, educational work, projects, product launches, all of that. And so we're really proud of where we've come from, how far we've come. I think that we are doing a great job promoting not just what Sony's offering, but how the industry is changing and evolving, and working with really key partners, one of which, Texas A&M, you'll hear from later. And so we've been really diligently working towards what I think is some great success in this space, and in only a short year and a half. So we're going to get into more detail on our different products later. We're going to hear from Texas A&M, but again, thank you all for being here. We're happy to talk directly with anyone who's interested about our virtual production solutions or any of these products. And I'm going to pass it back to Jamie or phone. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Jason. I love to hear our Lens to Living Room story, but it doesn't it doesn't necessarily tell the whole picture if we don't listen to the voice of customer and talk about how and why we created these products specific for the industry and how these products and solutions were going to be used. So here to share how one of our leading partners and newest users of our virtual production ecosystem has been using all of these amazing products, from Crystal LED to our cameras, our tool set, and our pro monitors. I'm pleased to welcome Gulnagar Ralph Nurikamu, and I'd like to launch that with a quick video that she created at the Virtual Production Institute at Texas A&M.
Hello, everyone. I am Gulnagar, and thank you so much for the intro, Jamie. I'm the virtual production supervisor at Virtual Production Institute, which is part of Texas A&M University. At Virtual Production Institute, we currently have 4 LED volume or LED wall stages in total. So those 4 stages are located in 2 different cities in Texas, in College Station and in Fort Worth in DFW area. Let's go to the next slide. Thank you, Chris. So the video you just watched is a brief BTS compilation or behind the scene compilation of very first 2 projects that we shot entirely inside one of our volumes in Fort Worth. So both of those projects were 2 narrative short films, primarily created by our students here who are first-time filmmakers and first-time using LED volume virtual production techniques. So for those 2 projects, we filmed those 2 projects in about 4 filming days, 4 on-set days, and we were able to use 14 different fully dynamic 3D worlds on the wall. So all of those 14 environments were created and rendered through Unreal Engine and rendered real time on the wall at our volume stage. So 4 filming days, 14 different virtual environments. And on my slide, as you can see that on the left side, let's go back to the slide, Chris. Thank you. On the left side, that is the final in-camera visual effects shot that was captured on set within the physical camera. And on the right side, that's the behind the scene photo or footage that corresponds with the in-camera visual effects shot. So as you can probably tell, the only real thing in this final in-camera visual effects shot is the actor and the prop that he's interacting with. And everything that's behind the actor, the entire environment is 3D Unreal Engine rendered environment on the wall. So for this particular volume we have in Fort Worth, there are in total 3 LED walls at this stage. The main wall, which is right behind the actor, as you can see on the behind the scene photo right there. So that's the main wall behind the actor. And we have 1 ceiling and 1 wild wall. The wild wall is right next to or on the right side of the main wall over there. So that wild wall is also called dolly wall, which is a movable wall. So we have 3 LED walls in total for this volume. And this volume consists of 415 LED panels, and all of those panels are Sony Verona panels, LED tiles of 1.5 pixel pitch. Next slide, Chris. Thanks. Now I'm going to talk about 2 main, pretty big challenges in LED volume virtual production. Challenge number 1 is, and that is a challenge from the perspective of a virtual production supervisor who's a production on-set crew here. So one of the challenges we face as a virtual production supervisor on set is that it is very difficult, very challenging to create the right contrast ratio or very deep black levels on the wall, on the digital content. So if you look at this example that's on my slide, conventional LED panels or LED panels from other manufacturers versus Verona panels, if you look at those 2 photos right here, those 2 photos look very different. These 2 in-camera visual effects shots feel and look very different. For the conventional LED panel one, this ICVFX or in-camera visual effects shot is considered not or unsuccessful. Why? Because if you look at the wall content, the contrast ratio is just not high enough, and the black level is not deep enough to match with the foreground objects or foreground the real world props and the real world actor in this shot. So the contrast black levels on the digital content is not matching with the physical world. That means this shot was not able to extend the physical world seamlessly into the virtual world, which is the whole point of LED volume virtual production. And this shot failed to do it because of a very low contrast rate and very elevated black levels that's on the wall. And if you look at the Verona panels in-camera visual effects shot that's on the right, the contrast ratio and the level of black on the wall, on the digital content, does match very closely with the physical world, with the foreground elements. That's why we consider this in-camera visual effects shot as a very successful one. And I think the difference between conventional LED panels versus Sony Verona panels in terms of black level and contrast ratio is pretty obvious in this example. And the picture that's on the right side on my slide is literally the photo I took literally yesterday in one of our volumes. And if you look closely on this photo, what's on the right side is our Sony Verona LED panel wall that has been blacked out. And what's on the left side of this photo is a duotine curtain that you would see in pretty much every film studios in the world. So it's duotine curtain is a very black fabric that is used to block light, right? So if you compare this very, very black curtain to our Verona LED panel right here, the black level between those 2 very different materials do match pretty closely. So that is another pretty fun and cool illustration that how black the Verona panels can get when you power them off or turn them to black mode. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Thank you, Chris. And the second challenge I would like to talk about from the perspective of a LED volume virtual production supervisor is that when we're working on set, we would work with digital content or content on the wall that is very dimly lit, that has a brightness output, brightness level that is very low, that sometimes you would have to have output of about like 10% or 5% of the max output that the panels can output. So we're talking about nit value of like 50 to 100 nits that needs to come from the LED panels, right? And this, when you're dealing with very dimly lit digital content on the wall, you most of the time would encounter very jarring visual artifacts such as banding or strange colorization on the wall, and most importantly, this visual artifact called a scan line. So with artifacts like this, scan lines, banding, colorizations, it's pretty much impossible to film that shot with a physical camera towards the wall. I mean, and as a LED, as a virtual production supervisors, our goal is to eliminate those visual artifacts on the wall so we can proceed with the filming, right? So this example I'm showing on my slide is a commercial client project that we did a few weeks ago. And as you can tell, this scene, if you look at the final in-camera visual effects shot that's on the left side, the only thing that's real in this shot is the actor, and the only prop the actor is interacting with, which is this fake door prop. So everything behind the actor and the door is a fully virtual scene rendered through Unreal Engine on the wall. So this environment we're talking about here is a interior night scene inside a dimly lit virtual apartment, right? And that's pretty clear if you look at the behind the scene shot that's on the right of my slide right there. So the dimly lit virtual environment is that's what's on the wall, that's behind the door and the actor. And the brightness output that we're talking about here is as low as like 100 nit output out of the max output of the Verona panels, which is, I believe, 1500 nits in total. And we have done such very dimly lit digital content projects for like multiple times in the last few months. And according to my personal experience inside Verona Volume here, we haven't really encountered any major visual artifacts, any scanline issues so far. Even when we're doing, 100 nit, very low brightness output from our content on the LED wall here. So that has been a very big challenge for a virtual production supervisor on set, dealing with those visual artifacts, especially scanline issues. And with the Verona panels, I think now there's a solid solution to overcome those low brightness visual artifacts issues on set during productions. That is end of my presentation. Thank you so much for you guys for listening.
Great. Thank you so much, Gulnagar. Aside from the amazing team at Texas A&M, one of the reasons this particular project has been truly one of my favorites is just the overwhelming accomplishment around the curriculum that you have built and the student success that you're already recognizing. This is, so closely aligned in Sony's core values of developing and creating that future workforce for virtual production, XR studio space, and immersive technologies. So it's wonderful to have this level of collaboration with the faculty, the students, the Virtual Production Institute around what's working, what's not, and maybe what the faculty, you, and the students want to see next from Sony. So that brings us to our last and final segment for this month's Tech Tuesday, which is Capri, the latest addition to the Sony virtual production family. Purpose-built LED product designed for scalability, durability, and based on all of the great feedback from the industry. I'm pleased to introduce Chris Schwartz, product manager for Sony's expanding Crystal LED line. And here to kick it off is a video to showcase our new Capri product.
Hi, everyone. My name is Chris Swartz, and I'm the product manager for the Crystal LED display technologies here at Sony. I really wanted to just basically give you an idea after that video, which kind of gives you an idea as well, but at least I can put a human face to it, of what the Crystal LED Capri is about. Um, with Capri, we're looking at a square virtual production and rental and staging cabinet, right? And we're only going to have one pixel pitch with this model. It's a 2.5, right? So let me get in here, and I want to basically, before we go into a little bit more about Capri, I wanted to kind of talk to you about what we have going on in the whole family of Crystal LED. Today we're talking about stuff on the right side, but I want to let you know about what's going on our left side, which is our more corporate and education product, kind of static, hang it on the wall. Currently, we have a BH and a CH series, and those are basically very similar, except for the coatings that they have on them. One has a kind of a matte coating, and it's a little bit brighter, and that's the BH, B for brightness. And the CH series is more of it's more like a high quality display where critical imaging is very important. It's a deep black coating, but it's also a very highly reflective coating as well. There's a little bit of difference in those brightnesses, and we have 2 pixel pitches with those. 1700 for the BH, 1300 for the CH, and we also have the 1.2 and the 1.5. These cabinets use our Sony controller, our ZRCT300, and we also have some devices, some accessories that go with them to be able to extend the distance between the controller and the cabinets. We also have something coming online next year that's going to be more of a step-in model with 700 nits and those 2 same pixel pitches. And we'll be using a different controller with that. So that's kind of our hang it on the wall, lobby, corporate space, education space offerings. But on the right, what we're talking about today, specifically Capri, we've had Verona for over a year and a half, and it's been a great success for us. But Verona is kind of the high end mark, right? This is where we're at. We needed to bring something more into kind of more of a mid market pace, but the way we're doing this is basically a very similar to Verona, right? Let me move on to the next slide here. We can talk about Capri, right? So Verona has 1.5 and 2.3 millimeter pixel pitches. Capri, we're just going to bring one pixel pitch out with it at 2.5, right? It has the same 1500 nit brightness. It has the same 7680 refresh rate. It has a little bit of a wide viewing angle, 160 degrees, and we're over a million to one contrast. And the color reproduction is very similar between the two. 81% Rec 2020, 98 DCI-P3. It's great for production environments because of anti-reflective surfaces. It's a little different than Verona in the way that this is an S&D product, Capri is, and it doesn't have a specific coating over it. It's anti-reflective in the fact that the LEDs on the front of the display are not reflective. We can surface the cabinets from the front and the rear, which is very similar to both cabinets. We have a built-in angle block, and those blocks come in 0 degrees and 2.5 degrees, and you basically flip the block over to change that. You can machine whatever angle that you want, so it makes it very easy to put these in some kind of in a curved configuration. These are very easy to install, and we have some damage protection features when you stack these on top of each other that help save your pixels. We can do up to 14 cabinets, either hanging or self-stacking. That's a lot. 7 meters is pretty high. Let me look at some of the similarities, and I've been talking about them a little bit, right? We have that high refresh rate for the LEDs. It's optimized for virtual production, so you don't get those scan lines that Golnagar was talking about, right? Those, basically you pair this display with hopefully a Sony camera, but not necessarily a Sony camera, and we can minimize those scan lines. We have a very high brightness, and this is Verona and Capri, and the color reproduction gives you the most expressive images that you're going to get on an LED volume. These are square cabinets, right? They're half meter square. They have a similar weight, and the dimensions are very close to the same. And the nice thing about this is if you've already purchased frame pieces for Verona, then you can use the same exact frame equipment for Capri. Some of the differences, and I spoke a little bit about them, but the main difference is obviously this is an SMD product, right? Verona has a proprietary kind of Sony chip technology, and then the next thing that's really the difference between these is a coating, right? Capri does not have this deep black coating that Verona has, and so for some less critical applications, this works great. We also have exposed LEDs with Capri that we just don't have on the Verona side. Capri only has one pixel pitch, 2.5, and funnily, Capri has a bit slightly better off-axis color reproduction, which can be useful in some situations. So why crystal LED Capri, right? Verona, is our flagship virtual production LED panel. It's for critical visual reproductions, right? Capri is another option in the expanding Sony virtual production environment, right? We're bringing more tools and more gear to our VP environment. And I think as you see, as we move later, there will be more and more, and how these things work together is going to be even more seamless. Capri is great for larger volumes where the highest level of contrast is not required. Um, and the reason for that is the next thing. Capri allows for those larger volumes at lower expense because we're talking about at least 30% less than the 2.3 millimeter Verona, which is quite a big savings, especially as your wall volumes start to get larger and larger, or you have needs like, here we go, it's a great choice for things like ceilings and wild walls and what other kind of lighting that you might need, which is it's great. Um, Capri cabinets. One of the ideas behind this and bringing this to market is that we can compete directly with what virtual production stages already use and expect. There's a lot of competitors out there, and a lot of them are using SMD, and high contrast is not as important for some of these things, and we need to be in that space, and now we are. Um, One of the cool things about SMD is it allows you the ability to repair your damaged LED modules. Verona, it's kind of interesting. Verona, the way it works is if you have a bad module or if something happens to a pixel, you have to basically replace the whole module. With SMD, you can go in and fix single pixels, which is kind of great. Capri works with either Brompton or Megapixel controllers for ease of implementation and whatever your users are used to, which is great. And Capri is compatible with the Sony Virtual Production Toolset, which includes um, that easy color calibration, the moire alert, and the off-axis color um, calibration as well, or offset basically. I think that's about it for what I have now. The one thing I did want to talk to you guys about, and I'm going to have Chris put this into the chat, is that we have an online CLED configurator, which has all of these products and all of our kind of 16 by 9 C&E products as well in a drop down list. You can just pull down a drop down list. You can decide how many panels you want. It'll give you specifications like weight, height, resolution, electrical use. It'll even give you some wiring information. So if you guys want to, build your own CLED wall, please be our guest. I think it will teach you a lot about what Sony has in LED, and we're really hopeful that you guys take a look at it. That's all for me. I think I'm going to pass it back to Jamie. Thanks a lot for your time today.
Great. Thanks so much, Chris. Perfect wrap up to what Sony's been doing over the last several years in virtual production, what we're doing today, and let's see what we bring out next. I think we're going to take a look at some of the Q&A here as they load. Sorry for some of the technical issues we had during our presentation. It looks like we may have lost a couple of the questions that came in, but I see several in here now and excited to dive in a little bit deeper to some of the areas we've already talked about. So first question here, DPs always use depth of field control to deal with backgrounds in regular production. Working with Verona and maybe other Sony components, have you noticed anything that makes that depth of field control and the results you want easier to achieve? Bill McGraw, I feel like that's a great one for you to maybe tackle for us.
And most of the time, the depth of field control, and I believe the person is referring to the depth of field, the blurriness on the frustum on the wall. So depth of field control inside the frustum on the wall is most of the time controlled by the camera tracking solution that specific volume is utilizing. So camera trackers, the popular ones are Slide, Red Spy, or Moses. From those solutions to other outside-in solutions such as OptiTrack or Vicon tracking solutions, right? So this question is like more relevant to what camera tracking solution you're using and how you are encoding and delivering your lens data to your Unreal Engine pipeline. So the answer is, it's not directly relevant to LED panels or Sony Verona solutions here. This question is more relevant to what camera tracking solution you're using.
Perfect, thank you. And I'd be remiss if
Maybe,
I didn't mention.
quickly.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I was just going to say, maybe as a related to that, Gogunar, since the stage in Fort Worth has the 1.5 millimeter product, I am curious if you found a difference working with that, if you noticed the difference in terms of, blocking or focal distance compared to wider pitch products.
Yeah, with the smaller pixel pitch, the major difference between a smaller pixel pitch and why smaller pixel pitch have like more benefits versus the larger pixel pitch is that you can minimize like moire problems with a smaller pixel pitch, which means you can basically block your physical set and your actors closer to the physical wall, and you can also block your camera closer to the physical wall without having significant moire issues. And that's the advantage of smaller pixel pitch, right? So that means there's a difference between using a 1.5 Sony Verona panels versus other panels from other competitor manufacturers that have pixel pitch of 2.8 or 2.9. With a 1.5, we can place the actor's physical set and block them almost like 4 and 5 feet away from the LED wall without getting any moire issues.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, guys. I think the next question here, I can probably tackle and wrap it up relatively easily. Where is Sony's virtual production ecosystem being used today? And broad question, not just our LED, but LED and camera or LED and tool set with camera. We have deployed throughout traditional studio productions with Amazon, WWE's been touted as one of our very first virtual production studios and stages here in the US. We have several universities deploying our ecosystem, several corporate customers, a couple in the financial spaces. A lot of these I can't name just because they're either under NDA, they're finally going in, or they're still evolving their system. But I think the trend that we're seeing here at Sony is that we have really bridged across multiple segments for our ecosystem. It's not just traditional film studios. That was another question that came in, was very specific. Is this only used for traditional film? And it's not. We're really seeing a lot of growth in corporate and education as well. And that's why this Tech Tuesday was so relevant for us. Another great question here. What controllers are compatible with the new Capri product? Chris, did you want to take that one?
Yeah, I can take that. It's basically the same controllers we're using with the Verona, and that's the Brompton, Tessera, and the megapixel Helios. So both of those are compatible. The one thing that you do need to know is that you need to know which controller you want to use when you purchase the product, because the receiving cards are specific to that product, right? So if you buy a Brompton version of the Capri, you're not going to be able to swap them out and use them on megapixel. So make sure that you buy the for the controller that you want to use.
Perfect. Thank you. And Jason, I feel like this one is teed up for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about Sony's virtual production toolkit?
Yeah. So we've had 2 releases so far of our tool set. We have a third one coming up that we've shown off at a few different conferences, NAB, I think Infocom a little bit. So it is primarily a set of software tools. Some of them are plugins for Unreal, some of them are standalone applications, and they're all focused on bringing efficiencies or ease of use to this process, which can be cumbersome or complicated. So I mentioned a couple during the presentations. We have a virtualized version of a number of different Sony cameras, not just our cinema line, but also some of our broadcast cameras. You can look or see the view through those cameras in Unreal and get a pretty accurate, actually very accurate representation of what the look is going to be, with a number of lenses that we have preset in there with all of the characteristics of the lens, aberration, and all of the different focal differences between them. I think there's also some anamorphic lenses as well. And for instance, you can use that to develop your camera blocking, where you put the camera, and also blocking for the subject. And then the look development, right? How you adjust the camera settings to create the specific look for your project. Maybe you want something really moody. Maybe you want something very clean for a commercial project. And then all those settings can be exported directly from Unreal to the physical camera that you use on set. We have a color calibration tool. We have a new feature that's coming out of the upcoming release that we showed at NAB, which is an off-axis color correction. So based on the position of the camera, if you get very far off-axis from the LED wall, you may see some color shift. Really, any LED product has this, but that tool can adjust the display to mitigate that color shift. And so you can use it in real time. It helps with smaller spaces, adding some more flexibility to them. And most of these tools are available free of charge. Some of them require a license for the production focused tools. But it's a software suite that we're continuing to add to, and is really a key kind of cornerstone of our virtual production initiative.
Perfect. Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. We do have some coming in now, but I think this is one that really speaks to the whole audience. What expertise does an organization need to hold in their production team to support virtual production? And I think, Golnagar, again, this is a great question for you. Living through it and understanding the entire design of a virtual production or XR studio space, the staff and expertise needed to operate and run it, and then, of course, the types of partners and resources you need to support and maintain it. Help us understand that.
So traditionally, LED LED volume virtual production team consists of one virtual production supervisor and at least one technical director or multiple technical directors. And technical directors are also referred to as volume operators nowadays. And those people, they are capable of operating volume using both 3D workflow, Unreal Engine powered workflow, or 2D workflow or 2.5D workflow as well, right? So we would have one virtual production supervisor, at least one volume operator, preferably multiple volume operators. And the team would also have at least one system engineer who would be responsible for both hardware and software and the smooth execution of the production and smooth operation of both hardware and software and the system that is part of the infrastructure, right? So we need one system engineer at least, and most LED volume stages also would require one stage manager and one LED technician. So stage manager would be responsible for doing things like equipment inventory, maintenance of hardware equipment at that one specific stage. And LED technicians obviously would be in charge of maintaining the LED panels. So I think I already mentioned like 6 different positions or team members that would make this virtual production team at a LED volume stage. And for example, different people would come in with a different expertise and would have like different responsibilities, right? For our technical directors or LED volume operators, obviously they would need to know the inside outs of Unreal Engine and how to render a fully 3D dynamic scene from our workstation, from our local machines, and how to render them properly on the wall. And they would need to be able to take notes from the virtual production supervisor on set and take the creative notes from the virtual production supervisor, and they need to know how to execute that specific creative note through the technical pathways inside Unreal Engine to address the note. So we would be looking at the correct content or correct digital assets on the wall or modify the existing assets on the wall, right? So for the technical directors, LED volume operators, we need their expertise in Unreal Engine. If we're using a 2D or 2.5D workflow, we need their expertise in operating media server software such as Pixera or Disguise. And for positions like virtual production supervisor, which is my position at Virtual Production Institute, I basically operate as a on-set VFX supervisor, because what we're doing at the end of the day is in-camera visual effects, which is a type of visual effects, and I'm creating those visual effects shot on set with the creative team, with the director and DP. So as a visual effects supervisor, I need to be able to communicate with the creative team, and I need to be able to communicate and meet the needs and expectations of all the departments that are involved in this film or the media production, right? And all the for a typical film or TV or commercial production, we're talking about 10 different departments coming together and work together on set, from sound department to the assistant directors, all the way to hair and makeup artists, to the core creative team, which is most of the time the director and the cinematographer. So I should be able to talk to them and understand their creative vision and understand their creative notes, and be able to translate those creative notes into specific technical executable notes, and deliver my executable technical note to the LED volume operators. And then LED volume operators would be able to address my notes and make changes on the wall on the real-time rendered content. So yeah, those are the I think 5 or 6 main crew or production crew positions that a virtual production shoot or production would require, and that is kind of a core staff personnel at a LED volume virtual production stage.
Perfect. Thank you. And I know there's so many more technical questions coming in about lighting, our new Ocellus camera tracking system. We will follow up with folks after this webinar. And I'm going to hand it back over to Joe, who will close it out with a few more resources and details. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Jamie, and thank you to all of our panelists for joining and for this Q and A. That was very insightful. Um, and yeah, as Jamie mentioned, we do keep track of all of our questions that come in. So if we didn't get to your question, we'll be sure to reach out in the coming days, and hopefully we can answer that for you. Um, just a reminder that Sony is having our AV Tech Expo. It's in full swing right now, and registration is open. So if you're interested in learning more about our virtual production video walls and any other of our Sony products or solutions, be sure to visit one of our upcoming AV Tech Expo locations, including on next Tuesday, October 29th, in Los Angeles, where we'll be showcasing a lot of our virtual production technology. And lastly, remember that you can catch all of our Tech Tuesday sessions on our YouTube channel. A link can be found in the chat. And be sure to join us for our next Tech Tuesday on November 18th, where Sony's Consultant Advisory Council will be discussing emerging industry trends. So thank you so much again to everyone who tuned in, and thank you again to our panelists for joining us. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.